Hey all, Eskie here, bringing you another Deadlock replay review. So in this replay, we are looking at Naked's Dynamo. Naked is really well known for his McGinnis, but he's also been playing a lot of Dynamo recently. I believe he's ranked number 2 in NA right now for Dynamo, so definitely a very good Dynamo player. Oops, let me move my cursor there, apologies. So first thing you should always do in your lane is think about your lane opponent. What are they going to be doing? What do we want to be doing? So you have a Vindicta in your lane, long range poke. Not the best at comboing, but you could, you know, in theory combo with the Kinetic Pulse knockup and then Vindicta stakes them and you can probably get a kill based on that. For the enemy team lane, we have an Abrams and an Ivy. So pretty up close, you know, Abrams wants to shoulder charge you. Ivy can probably follow up with a stone form there. So those are the things to be looking out for, right? You probably, as this Dynamo and Vindicta way, want to keep your distance from the Abrams especially. And just try to poke them down. You have a lot more sustain than them as well. I would say generally until Ivy gets her, whatever the Vine ability is called. I don't know what that ability is called. But you have your rejuvenating Aurora on Dynamo. So you have a lot of sustain as well. So I think your goal here is really to poke. Dodging the shoulder charge. Gets the knockup on the Abrams there. Not going to get the kill though. And if you saw what that Ivy is doing, I think this is really important for you guys in the duo lane. Ooh, gets both of them in the stone form there. So if you saw, Naked was putting a ton of pressure on the Abrams, but Ivy was sitting there putting pressure on the Dynamo, which prevented the Dynamo from being able to go in there and try to get the kill on the Abrams. So something very important in your duo lanes is to make sure that if your teammate is getting pressured, you need to put pressure on the person that is pressuring them. Because if you saw there, the Dynamo was pretty low health because of the Ivy putting pressure on him, and that prevented the kill on the Abrams. Looks like Vindicta did get a stake there. Ooh, does that go through the wall? I'm actually interested. If you guys know, does Kinetic Pulse go through the wall like that? Would that have knocked up the Abrams? I actually don't know the answer to that question. And skill build and item build will be linked in the description down below. I'll have a build ID for Naked's build so you guys can, you know, use it in your games as well. I'm trying to not go over builds as much because they change so frequently with, you know, how they patch it, changing balance and all that. So I'm going to give you guys the build ID so that you can use it and try to just go over the big game things, the macro decisions, mistakes that were made that can be improved on, different things like that to kind of give you guys a more long-lasting video and things that you can use in your game for a long time. Also, if you like this type of comment, make sure to subscribe to my channel. So putting pressure here on the Vindicta is in flight. Looks like the good knockup on the Abrams there. Uses the Quantum Entanglement to dodge the shoulder charge. I think that's really good. Got hit by the stone form there and is going to die, though. So probably a little too close there when it came to the positioning. Ivy and Abrams just have a lot of CC, and it can be very hard to get away from them. And if Abrams gets on top of you, especially in the early game, he can do a lot of damage. So probably just a positioning thing there. So it looks like Abrams just took the camp there, which is why he probably came out of there. Another big thing for you guys to make sure you're doing is to early game take the camps. If you saw the small camps to spawn, so like they have a small camp right there that they can take, making sure you're hitting that jungle timing. So once you've pushed the lane, ooh, Abrams going, ooh, big shoulder charge by the Abrams. Does Quantum Entangle out there? The Abrams does back off as well. And yeah, so this is kind of what the Dynamo lane wants to do, right? You want to use that sustain to keep you healthy, try to poke them down, avoid Ivy's Kuzu, the bombs, whatever they're called. Ivy does have healing right, so that's going to give them a lot of sustain as well. And yeah, Dynamo's low here, so that's the other thing you want to do in the duo lane is to always keep track of your duo lane's health. The Vindicta is pretty much full health right now. And then Abrams and Ivy, you can always look at the top here and see their health, provided that you can see them on the minimap. So just kind of always gauging that in your mind of, hey, I'm at this health level, my duo is at this health level, they're at this health level. Kind of gives you an idea of how aggressive you want to go in the lane, what your positioning should be like. So because they're generally low health, Dynamo's pretty low health, I think Vindicta was a little bit over positioned there because Dynamo had gone and taken the camp. Vindicta probably shouldn't be that far up, although her flight did save her there. I think you saw the Abrams try to shoulder charge her. So just always keeping account of that in your head is going to be important for lane positioning and making sure you don't die. And then, of course, the number one thing that you want to be doing, basically in this order, is making sure you hit all of your farms. So get every single minion, every single orb, melee if you can to prevent the orbs. And then if you get the farm... Ooh, Abrams ulting here. We'll talk about that in a second. Trying to con him into both IB and Abrams ult. So that's a big trade right there if you saw that. So both IB and Abrams had their ult down right now. So that's another thing to keep in mind for the Vindicta and the Dynamo is both Abrams and IB have ulted. So you have the advantage here. You have Black Hole. I'm pretty sure Vindicta's snipe is up as well. Yes. And you can always look up here at these icons and see. So Abrams, IB's ult both down. So why we're farming jungle here? What I was saying is that farm your lane, make sure you get all the farm. Once you've farmed your lane and it's pushing, you can go do other things. Like Dynamo's doing here, you're going to take these jungle camps around your lane. You're not necessarily rotating across the map. You're staying in the vicinity of your lane, taking boxes, taking jungle farm, and then always trying to make sure you hit the wave as well. So you probably want to take one jungle camp, rotate back to the lane, take the wave, rotate to another jungle camp, and then do that to try to keep your farm up. And if you look at farm right now, everyone's pretty even here, right? We have pretty much 5K across the board, excluding on the Geist. So it looks like Dynamo's going to try to come in back. I imagine this is going to be a black hole here. Yep, big black hole, got both of them. Looks like the Vindicta is not doing enough damage here. They're going to have to quantum entangle out. Pops his heal. Going to have to try to dodge the Ivy Stone for him. Just not get the dodge there, though. Vindicta does get the kill on the Abrams, though. Vindicta just doesn't really have a lot of burst to kind of deal with both of those characters when Dynamo gets the ult off. So that was a big black hole. And if you saw the pathing there... And this is something you're going to... Whoops. Let's go 1 speed. If you saw the pathing there, me drawing on the minimap, Naked had rotated over here to this lane to just kind of... Once he had farmed the jungle camp, rotated over here to just see if there was a potential pick. Then he didn't rotate behind here and come behind the tower, the Guardian. He came through the middle here. And that allowed him to flank. They didn't see him, and he got the double black hole off there. Really good play on Naked's part. The Vindicta probably just doesn't have enough damage at this point to burst one of them down during the black hole cast. Or singularity. Why am I calling it black hole? Don't listen to me and my ability names. So once again, rotating to a jungle camp, farming that jungle camp, rotating back to the lane, farming that lane, and then once he gets this kill, he's probably going to rotate again, right? So he sees that this tower, this Guardian is getting pushed. No one's over here to farm, even though the Bebop is racing in. When he made the decision to rotate, though, the Bebop had not started to race in yet. So he rotated over here for this farm. So the priority, and obviously this could change because, you know, they rebalance troopers all the time. They rebalance jungle farm all the time. But the basic priority is lane farm and then jungle farm. And farming is your top priority, generally speaking, especially early in mid-game. You really want to maintain your farm because one thing I've said before, and I'll say again to you guys, is the way that you carry games is getting your farm up, being the most farmed in the lobby, because eventually you can just stat check people, right? Dodge the guy spawn there, and if you saw what Naked did, he killed the troopers first, not necessarily targeting Geist in the Mirage, but killing the troopers first so the Guardian's not under pressure anymore. Shiv gets the kill on the Mirage there. Looks like they're not going to push this Geist. Geist does have her ultimate. So you always have to be careful of that. Always checking up here on these icons to see who you're fighting and what their ultimate status is. Naked does grab the urn here. One item I do want to call out is the buying of Decay here. So if you look at their team, they have Ivy with healing, Abrams with healing, Kelvin with healing, McGinnis with healing, Geist with healing. So Decay is a really good early buy here to prevent whoever you're fighting to really reduce their healing overall. So it looks like there's a fight going on here. Naked could try to sneak this urn. You can hear Bebop ulting. I actually don't know if you guys can hear it because I have the game audio low, but Bebop is ulting there, so he knows there's a fight. So he's just going to sneak in this urn here. I think that's totally worth it. You don't have to be a part of every fight, especially in the early and mid game. Late game, you probably should be part of every fight, but sometimes you can prioritize other things over fighting. Turning an urn here, for example. His team has basically gone even here. They had a Geist kill and an Abrams kill, so it was a 1 for 2. Now it's a 2 for 3. So still totally ahead when it comes to that. Although McGinnis is pushing the Walker over here, so this is something to keep in mind. You don't necessarily want to keep fighting here, and he is going to have to rotate over to try to save this Walker. A Walker this early on is a pretty big get for them. Does get the knock up on the McGinnis. Is going to solo black hole her. His team is rotating in here, so they should be able to secure this kill pretty easily. And yeah, follows the singularity. Why am I saying black hole again? Follows up the singularity with another knock up to just keep that McGinnis CC'd. I do think, though, when it comes to the enemy team's perspective, that definitely was worth it. Getting a Walker this early on, it was basically at 12 minutes, is a big get when it comes to souls. So I think that McGinnis death was probably worth that Guardian. And then, yeah, if you see the pathing that Naked has taken, he sees this pushing. He probably sees them on his minimap as well. So he's rotating over here, putting pressure on them, popping his healing as well. The healing, I believe, applies to his troopers. So using that to kind of help push this wave out and get the pressure off of the Walker. I'll tab up for the skill build here just real quick for you guys. Once again, the build ID is going to be in the description, so you guys can always follow that. But the first thing he's basically maxed out is Rejuvenating Aura for that move and ability use, giving him that max heal. Excuse me. And yeah, so if you look at what Naked's doing, he's not necessarily grouping up right now. Like I said, early mid-game priority is really your farm. Even if you're a support character, any character in this game can really carry. Obviously, some characters, not obviously, bad habit. Some characters in this game require more farm, such as like an Infernus, whereas a Dynamo, a Kelvin, these characters are going to have usefulness because of their kits, no matter the farm that they're at, but it's still good to be farmed. So just rotating over here, finding all of these jungle camps that are still up, using them, farming them up. We can take a look at the game state here real quick. So the enemy team is behind about 8K, 7K. Not an insurmountable lead at all. They were actually behind further a little while ago. And like I've said before, a big urn fight, big mid-boss fight can easily swing the game about 10K souls, even 15K souls in the later game. So something to always keep in mind, just because you're down about 10K souls does not mean you're out by any means. You just need to make good macro decisions. And yeah, so if you saw, they were posturing a fight here on the minimap. There's a lot of people concentrated there, but Naked is not necessarily going to group with his team every time. And just like their McGinnis is not grouping, he was not grouping either. So kind of preventing that McGinnis from pushing. Looks like he's going to try to solo push this Walker here. I think that's a completely viable strategy. But if he sees the minimap right now, he could see them rotating over here. And then he also has two over here as well. Looks like he's just going to try to suicide for this. Ooh, beautiful movement there. He actually might get out here. Wow. Oh, no, he hit the wall. It looks like he does get out here. Man, that was some great movement. So that's why I love this game so much. The skill cap is just so high. Having good movement like that, you know, you see the Abrams rotating over in the middle right here. Plus you have the Mirage and whoever else. Basically, you have 3 people closing in on you, right? But because of the positioning, because of the good movement, you get the Walker kill, plus you're able to get out. You don't die. So that's incredibly worth it because you've pulled 3 people over to you and you've gotten the objective. So really, really great play there. So another item I want to call out here, and this is going to be a big power spike in shift and play style, is going to be the Veil Walker. So he buys armors, or he buys barriers here instead of armors, and barriers pair really well with the Veil Walker. And on top of that, he's going to be able to get some really good singularities off because of the Veil Walker. If you saw, that's what he did, right? He's not pathing directly at the enemy right down the lane. He's pathing around. He's coming from the outside. He's flanking. Veil Walker's going to give him even more ability to do that so he can get a flank off and try to get a big ultimate. He's just waiting for his Veil Walker cooldown right now, I believe. Or at least they're probably calling in comms too. Popping his Divine Barrier. Going for the Black Hole here. The Black Hole does disable the Walker as well. If you saw that, the Walker was about to stun but got disabled by the Black Hole there. Gets the kill on the Geist. Big knock up there. Kelvin kill as well. So super, super worth it there. I'm actually not sure where the Lash died. McGinnis is pushing their base, so they're going to have to make a decision here. It looks like 2 of them are going back at least. So they're actually going to have to back off here. That's really unfortunate. So if you saw what the McGinnis was doing, the McGinnis had pushed all the way into this lane, and I believe the McGinnis got the shrine here as well. So once again, making macro decisions, right? The McGinnis made a great macro decision there. I imagine the thought process was, hey, I'm not going to be able to get to that fight, so I need to do something useful in the meantime. There's different ways to play McGinnis. You know, you can play a more support McGinnis that's going to be with your team. This McGinnis has done a lot of split pushing. So split pushed into their base and got a shrine. I think that is very, very worth it. All in all, probably more of an even trade, though, because the blue team, the Dynamo team here, was able to get, I think, 2 or 3 kills off that. The Lash did die as well, though. So fairly even trade. What are we talking? So actually, I think it was probably worth in the enemy team's favor there because they did unlock a flex slot because that McGinnis was able to kill base walkers plus the shrine there. I think they got the base walker. I'm pretty sure that's the patron. I really wish they would update some of these icons to be more distinct, right? Like these are obviously base guardians, but shrine and patron are not very easy to tell. Okay, it's moving, so it is the patron. So they did get the flex slot. So overall, probably a trade in their favor at that point. So they just capped the urn there. His Naked's team should probably back off and just defend this Guardian. They don't want to fight here because they're down 2. Lash also just joined. So it looks like Shiv is going to get caught here. Naked's going to rotate back over. Although I don't think that they should take the fight. They're already down 2 players. 2 characters. The enemy team has full character roster up, and even though they're behind in farm at this point, it's really hard to come back from being down 2. Wow. That must have been a big Lash ultimate there. So they just got 3 off that Bebop and Lash ultimate, I believe. Yeah, so definitely a Bebop Lash ultimate combo there based on these icons. So big fight for his team there. Down 2, and we're still able to net 3 kills. So this is definitely going to be a mid-boss here. And if you look at the top here, Geist, she cannot really contest, doesn't have any CC or anything to really contest a mid-boss. And then Abrams could contest with his ultimate, but his ultimate is not up based on the icon. So I think this is a really, really good mid-boss play. So Naked does ult here just to make sure that you get the Rejuvenator secured there. Great use of Dynamo ultimate for contesting or taking Rejuvenator. Dynamo ult's going to be really, really great there. They also netted 2 kills, so this is going to be a big base push for them. Ooh, he got stunned off the zip. How did that happen? So I imagine he's rotating back here. The buffs are up, so he's going to grab this real quick, and he's probably going to rotate onto this McGinnis. So this McGinnis has been pretty much a Menace for split pushing. I actually don't know why the McGinnis is pushing this lane. I would assume you'd want to push this lane over here, maybe because the Urn's over there. The McGinnis is going to get turned on here by both the Bebop and Dynamo. Should get the kill here pretty easily. Yeah. So I think that was a pretty good rotation. It looks like his team is fighting. They've already gotten the kill on the Ivy, although the Warden did die. This is probably a fine fight, though, because the blue team has Rejuvenator, so any 1-for-1 trades is in their favor due to the reduced death timers. So they should be able to push in here. They do have the advantage of one player. Big punch by that Bebop to push the Kelvin into the team there. Misses the knock-up. Gets the kill on the Abrams, so they should be able to push in here now. McGinnis is coming up right now. They're 20k up in farm as well, so they should be able to generally stat check them right now. I would say around the 20k mark, when you get 20 to 25k, it's going to be a lot harder for the enemy team to kill you based on your farm. We are going to talk about another big power spike item here as well. Actually, 2 power spike items once this fighting's over. So it looks like they're just going to back off here. They do have time left on the Rejuvenator, but they've pretty much gotten what they want. All of their flex slots are unlocked at this point. I wonder what he's doing here. Talking to chat, maybe. Who knows? He does stream as well. The stream is going to be linked down below in the description. I forgot to mention that. I'm going for the Ivy here. Oh, this is going to be a... Yeah. This is a Singularity. You got 2 in the Singularity here. Looks like Abrams was ulting there, so he decided to blink out. The team didn't have the follow-up, so they should probably just back off here. McGinnis is really pushed up here, so they can definitely come and flank her. Looks like she's terrorizing this Lash. Knock up on the McGinnis. They're able to get that McGinnis kill. Although they did trade 1-for-1s because it looks like the Warden died. So some item callouts here in this build. Arcane Surge, really, really great item on Dynamo. It gives you that ability range, ability duration, and the extra spirit power. So if you can watch, he'll sometimes Arcane Surge Singularity, but also he'll Arcane Surge Kinetic Pulse. And the Kinetic Pulse has a very, very long range when you have Arcane Surge on it. So this is the newer item. So really, really good on Dynamo. I think this is part of his build right now. It's really, really cool to see. The other big power spike here is going to be Warpstone. You saw him use that last fight. So Warpstone's going to give you the ability to get in, get a good Singularity off, and then usually by the time Singularity is over, depending on the items you have, whether you have like a extra duration on it, superior duration maybe as well, your Warpstone could be back up by the time it's over. So you can Warpstone in, Singularity, and then basically when the Singularity is over, a little bit after that, you'll be able to Warpstone out as well. So it gives you a lot more safety there and ability to initiate fights. So let's look at the state of the game here. The enemy team not down too bad, just about 12k. Once again, a big team fight can really swing, especially later in the game as souls have scaled more. You can get these big like 10 to 15k swings depending on how the fight goes for you. So just always keep in mind that they're actually holding the urn right now too to try to prevent them from getting it. So a big urn fight here could swing the game. And then another big power spike here coming. If you saw, he was farming there just to hit that 6,200 mark. Unstoppable, really big item on Dynamo. You pop your Unstoppable, you hit Singularity. Then things like Abrams Shoulder Charge, IV Stone Form, anything like that is not going to be able to stop you from ulting, which is going to be huge. So just transitioning over here to stop this from pushing in. His team is pushing into base here. They do have the advantage by 1, although Lash and Dynamo are not there with them. They are keeping these lanes pushed. So I think it is smart for his team to back off here. Always important to keep in mind what team has the advantage when it comes to actual players that are not dead, but also keeping in mind what is the positioning of your team. Even though they're up 1 player there when it comes to deaths, they're actually not up because there was no one on the map for the enemy team. So they could all be sitting in this lane waiting for them to push in and then initiate on them. Another thing to talk about here, probably later in the game, because when team fight's happening, this is more important. But early in the game as well, thinking about team comp wise, who is going to be initiating, what kind of things should you be avoiding. So two good initiations that, actually three really, that the blue team has here. Dynamo ult, he blinks in, gets a big singularity. Bebop hook is something they could play off of as well. And then a big lash ult. The enemy team, the yellow team here, actually doesn't have very good initiation at all, right? You can try to get a Kelvin Dome off to isolate some people in a fight, maybe a McGinnis wall to split up the team. Geist doesn't really have good initiation. You could try with an Abrams ult, although Abrams ult's really not a good initiation either. So that's kind of going to be the struggle for the enemy team, is trying to figure out fights. Getting picks is probably their best strategy, which they just did there. They were able to get a pick on this Vindicta. So he just popped Arcane Surge. He went through the Veil to get Veil Walker as well. Warp Stoned in, and then he popped his Singularity. So he has that Arcane Surge boost on his ultimate. Quantum Entanglement out here. Going to back off because he's low health. Looks like Abrams is really coming after him here. Going to have to Warp Stone out again. So they're up in this fight. They can definitely push this fight here. 3 of them are dead. That was a big Singularity on his part. And if you saw, once again, the pathing. It's not straight down the lane. It's not straight at the enemy team's face. Okay, you saw that there, right? The kinetic pulse, the range on that is so large when you pop your Arcane Surge on it. It's so insane. So yeah, like I said, so that's kind of the combo there that he went for, right? He was off to the side. He wasn't with his team necessarily, but he was positioning himself to flank in that team fight. Sitting behind a Veil, he pops the Arcane Surge with the dash. Then he's able to have the Veil Walker so he's invisible, get into a good position, Warp Stone in, and then pop a big Singularity to win that team fight. The enemy team had a bunch dead there, so that was a pretty good decision to go for mid-boss. I really like that. Once again, I think the big thing that I see in lower level games is the decision between pushing the base and mid-boss. I think almost all of the time, you know, obviously situations differ between every single game, but most of the time mid-boss is going to be the priority because mid-boss makes it a lot easier for you to push into the enemy team's base. So pushing into the enemy team's base with mid-boss up is a big risk because if you push into the enemy team's base, you end up dying, they can get a free mid-boss off that. So just taking the last shrine here, pushing the patron, trying to down the patron. You're not necessarily trying to fight them right now. You're just trying to position at the back of their base out here and then getting the patron down, and now you want to look for a fight. You want the patron to be down, so you always have that threat of ending the game. Big shoulder charge there by the Abrams. Ooh, got the Vindicta there as well. He's going to have to back off here. Getting CC'd really hard. So this is a big team fight win for the yellow team. They do have Rejuvenator, so it's not that bad for the blue team. But like I said, pushing into the enemy base is very risky. The reasons for that, there's a lot of choke points just to get into the base. And then once you get into the base, just based on the layout, the enemy team has a lot of high ground advantage, different stuff like that. See teabagging? And then another big late game call out here for items is superior duration. You're going to imbue that on your Singularity so that it lasts even longer. Going to be even more of a team fight winner there. So he does try to Veil Walker in there. His whole team is up at this point, although you can see the Shiv over here chasing the McGinnis. Looks like Lash is chasing her as well. So they're at a disadvantage here. It's most likely a 4v5 and an advantage for the yellow team here in their base. Although now Abrams has appeared and Kelvin has appeared over there. So now they're rotating over. The Shiv does die here, probably chased a little too deep. So they have to be careful here now, right? They are down a player. They still have 2 Rejuvenators, but Shiv is dead for the full death timer, so they need to be very careful about how they choose to fight here. The urn is the objective up on the map right now, so if they do end up dying, all of their lanes are pushed, which means it's going to be hard for the enemy team to take any of their base objectives, but they could take urns. They still want to be careful here because there are map objectives up. You could try to play off a Bebop hook here. I think that's probably the best opportunity. Dynamo could go for a Veilwalker ult here. Let's see if he does. I'm just trying to position over here. And if you notice, he's not sitting out there poking the enemy team. He's always trying to find these angles to try to get a big singularity off. Going for the buffs here. Buffs are a really big deal late game now that they scale. So he did grab this buff. Looks like they got 2 kills here, both on the Warden and... I don't know if this is a good Dynamo ult here. Shiv is coming over. Big 4-person Dynamo ult. I don't think they're going to have the damage, though, because they have 3 dead. Kelvin domes. Shiv does get an ult off on the Kelvin to get the kill, but they're just kind of stuck in the dome right now. Yeah, and that's going to be a death there. And I don't think Shiv's not going to get out here. He's going to die as well. Looks like the only one that's going to get out is Vindicta. So that was a big Dynamo ult just from a, you know, technical perspective of catching 4 people there. I don't think that that was the best choice, though, in my opinion, because he already had 3 people dead there. You could see that he got 4 in his ult because they were doing all of that damage. Vindicta just backing off the McGinnis here. I'm just going to fast forward here to get Dynamo back up. So that was a big shift in power too, right? Like they just took the urn. So the enemy team is now up about 12K or no, 16K, 15K now. Math's hard. So like I said, it's very risky to push into the enemy team's base without Rejuvenator. You're on a super long death timer. They were able to take urn there. They've swung the souls back in their favor. So the blue team here has to be very, very careful. And yeah, so I really disagree with that Dynamo ult. I get that you get 4 people there, but if you looked at the damage ticking down as he was ulting, there wasn't a lot of damage being put on them there. And the big reason for that was there was already 3 dead on the blue team. So I think that was a pretty risky Dynamo ult, and the enemy team gets a big swing in power off of that as well. I hope you guys are having a great day. So we're watching some quality farming right now. I'm actually probably going to speed this up. It's not fun to watch people farm. Oops. Missed that one. So they are initiating on him. Got a knockdown there. Got soldier charged as well. Apologies. Sped through that one a little bit. Slowing Hex by the Ivy. Stone form as well. They're really going in hard on him here. Oh, big hook by the Bebop there. So he warped Stone into the Bebop's range and then got hooked by the Bebop. So the enemy team is really smart here trying to push fights because they are ahead. Trying to get those picks. Although there was some good dodging by the Dynamo there. Looks like they are fighting on the roof. Warden's ulting. I can hear it in my audio here. McGinnis looks like the enemy team is pretty out of position here. Gets the Kelvin. McGinnis looks like she's by herself. I think this is a good initiation here. Bebop with a single ult on the McGinnis. Gonna get that kill as well. They can definitely push this fight now. Yeah, they have 3 dead, so they should push this fight really hard. And that's kind of the calculation you need to make. Ooh, okay. So he singularity there. Ivy stone formed him. He did not pop his unstoppable there, so that definitely was a mistake. Could have gotten both Ivy and the Abrams in the ult there if he had popped the singularity, but Ivy stopped him with stone form. But I don't think it matters at this point. Yeah, so this is probably game at this point. So like I was saying, I think the enemy team there was very smart. I'm just going to speed this up because I think they're just going to end based on down here spoilers. So based on that last team fight, I think the enemy team made a pretty big mistake there. They pushed, which was really good because they had an advantage, but they were very separated, right? Some of them were on the roof. McGinnis was down below. McGinnis got caught. Kelvin died. So ultimately that ends the game in Dynamo's favor here. So GG all around. I think that was a really good Dynamo game. If you guys made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this type of content, please hit that like button down below. Tell me what you thought of this Dynamo game. Also, give me any feedback. If you guys think I can improve any way on these replays, there's been constant feedback from you guys in the comments, like being able to press J so that I have my cursor available. Like, that's the stuff I really, really appreciate. So if you guys see anything that I'm doing wrong, you think I should improve on, let me know down in the comments. I read all of them. If you guys are interested in getting your replays reviewed by me and potentially being in one of my upcoming videos, please join the Discord, trying to create a community there. There's a specific place where you can post replays. I will review them all. It takes me some time, so please be patient with me, but I will get to review them. I basically post a big amount of text for you to have notes about the game, things you can improve on, decisions you could have made differently. So if you guys are interested in that, the link down below in the description for the Discord there. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.